So I thought I lost my favorite pliers, the ones I keep in my toolbox. I looked for them and they weren't there, and I thought I must have left them somewhere. And then the other day, I was cleaning my son's room, and the pliers were there. And also a lighter I keep hidden in my sock drawer, both of them sitting there on my son's dresser. I found them when I was cleaning his room, and, it's a little aggravating, but it's revealing too. You think you're hiding something, they already know where all your secrets are stashed. There's a version of fatherhood we all signed up for, the one where we pass down the things we meant to pass down, the work ethic, the golf swing, the handshake, the way you treat people when nothing is at stake. And then there's the version that actually happens, where what gets passed down isn't always what we planned, where our kids absorb not the lessons we prepared, but the life we actually lived when we thought nobody was watching. Well, it's caught, not taught. And that cuts both ways. I want to talk to the father who has had a moment he can't unsee. I think you know the one. Maybe it was something you said. Maybe it was something you did. Maybe it was the look on your kid's face that told you had just crossed a line you couldn't uncross. You've carried that moment for a long time, and you've never said it out loud. Well, I'll go first. I was a primary caregiver for my kids in a marriage that was quietly falling apart, not loudly, not dramatically, pretty quietly. The kind of falling apart that happens in slow motion over years of swallowed conversations that should have happened, and broken plans, and resentment that had no language. I didn't really understand what was happening to me at the time. I just knew that something was eating me alive, and I was swallowing a lot of resentment, and I couldn't name what it was, and it really had nowhere else to go. And the people closest to me paid the price for that. My boys did. There was one moment in particular I'm really not proud of. I won't walk you through every detail, but I got really angry at something that was stupid, and I just felt out of control. And my son caught the full weight of it, and I can still see the look on his face. A father never forgets that look. I carried that for years, the shame of it, the knowledge that I had been something I never wanted to be in front of the people who deserved better from me. And it made me think about my own father, Lionel. I never once saw him lose himself like I did. Not once. And I had become something he never modeled for me. Is there a moment you've been carrying like me? Let me know with an amen in the comments, if you have. I read every one. That's the thing about generational patterns. Sometimes you break them, and sometimes without even knowing it, you become the thing you swore you'd never be. Well, David knew something about that. In Psalm 51, he wrote something that was great. We're talking about a man that was after God's own heart. He was sitting there in the wreckage of his own worst moment, and he brought it directly to God without excuses. He wrote, "Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a right spirit within me." Now, notice he didn't say, "God, I can explain," or "God, you have to understand the context." Just, "I did this, and I need you to make me into someone who doesn't do this anymore." That's not weakness. That's the most honest prayer a man can pray. God called David a man after his own heart, not before that failure, after it, while it was still on the record. David didn't live a clean life, but it was an honest one. About a year ago, my youngest son was leaving for New Zealand for a whole year with his mom, and I knew I couldn't let him go with that thing still sitting between us unspoken. So I called them both to the dinner table, and I told them that I was ashamed of how I acted at the end of my marriage and that they didn't deserve it, that it wasn't their fault, that I was responsible for my own anchor and I was truly sorry. And I got more emotional than they did in that moment, both of them teenagers, but they accepted the apology and they even thanked me for it. Teenage boys don't naturally run towards vulnerability. They don't hand out forgiveness very easily, but they'd been watching me grow in my faith for a few years by then. The Tuesday night group that I go to, the Wednesday night service that I attend, the Sunday mornings I left early and didn't come home until afternoon, the Bible I leave on the table, the videos I make in here every morning. Something had been forming in them quietly, and when the moment came, they knew what to do with it. They gave me something that night that I really didn't deserve, an apology accepted, and I couldn't have been more thankful. That came from somewhere else. My son came home from New Zealand about, 2 weeks ago. He came back a little different. Grown up in a way that a year on a young man will do, he also came back with something he didn't leave with, and I could smell it all over the house. He thought it was a secret. It wasn't. I sat down with him. I didn't lose my temper, thankfully. I didn't shame him. I didn't perform my disappointment in front of him. I just told him, hey, I see it. I'm not going to pretend I don't. And whenever you're ready to have a conversation, I'm here. Open door, no conditions. That's the distance between who I was and who I am now. Same father, different man. And the only explanation I have is a bunch of years walking now honestly with God and letting Him do what I couldn't do for myself. Create in me a clean heart. Thankfully, He did. He's still doing it. Here's what I want to say to the father carrying his moment tonight. Your kids already know. They saw it. They felt it. They filed it away the way kids file everything away. And they're waiting, not for a perfect father, but for an honest one. The apology you haven't made yet is still available to you. The dinner table is still there. You know, David didn't wait until he was worthy to bring it to God. He brought it as he was and asked God to make him into something better. You can do the same thing, first in prayer and then at your own dinner table with your own kids. It's not too late. It's never too late while there's still breath in the room. Jesus is the vine. We are the branches. Stay connected to Him in this abiding life.